It's the vehicle. I'm looking for any unusual damage in the body and fairing. I see none. The tractor is not listing to any size. I'm looking also up underneath here to make sure I have no fluid leaks underneath the tractor. I see no fluid leaks. My tow hooks are secure. My license plate is current and secure. Also, I want to make sure that my windshield is clean and clear, is not cracked, chipped, or broken. I'm going to walk to the driver's side. I'm going to physically and visually inspect my steps and my handrails to make sure they are securely mounted, no missing nuts or bolts. I'm going to open my tractor door. This is tractor 264719. 264719 matches my keys, matches my DVIR 264719. I'm going to verify that the previous driver has signed and dated this legibly. I'm also looking to make sure there are no safety or non-safety related items. If there were any safety or non-safety related items, there would be a description of the mechanic's work performed, and then he would sign and date legibly. I will now sign and date. While I'm here, I'm also going to check that my FHWA certification is current. It is. It is good for August 2016. It's good from 1 year from that punch, so it's good till August 2017. I'm also going to check my door here, make sure my door opens and closes correctly. I'm checking my hinges to make sure that they are securely mounted, no missing nuts or bolts, no missing pins. The window itself is clean and clear, free of any cracks, chips, or discoloration. And my weather stripping on the inside of my door is in good condition. Also, while I'm here, I'm going to check to make sure that I have a minimally required, fully charged, securely mounted, non-freezing, dry chemical 5BC fire extinguisher. This is a 10 ABC fire extinguisher. It is securely mounted. It is charged because the arrow is in the green. Now I'm going to enter the vehicle using 3 points of contact. First thing I do when I get in the vehicle is I verify my parking brake is applied, my transmission is in neutral. I'm going to turn on all my necessary lights: marker, clearance, ID, road lights, hookup lights, work lights, parking lights, applying my hand valve and activating my four-ways. My parking brake is still applied, my transmission is in neutral. I'm going to exit the vehicle using 3 points of contact. I'm going to walk back to the front of the vehicle. I'm going to verify that I have 3 ID lights and 2 clearance lights securely mounted. They are clean, they are clear, they are illuminated, and they are of the proper color, which is amber. I can see that my low beams are securely mounted, illuminated, clean and clear, not cracked, chipped, or broken. My road lights or fog lights are securely mounted. They are illuminated, not cracked, chipped, or broken. I can also see both my left and my right four-ways are securely mounted, not cracked, chipped, or broken, clean and clear, proper color amber, and that they are flashing simultaneously to the right side and back over to the left side. I'm going to go back to the tractor, open my tractor door. I'm going to activate my high beams. I'm going to walk back to the front of the vehicle. I'm going to verify that my high beams are illuminated. As I walk back to the tractor for 264719, I'm going to release my right side hood latch. I'm going to check the condition and stability. I like to go top down. So I'm going to check the stability and condition of my mirror bracket. My mirror bracket is securely mounted to the tractor door, no missing nuts or bolts. I'm going to check my mirrors themselves, make sure they are securely mounted to the mirror bracket, no missing nuts or bolts, free of any cracks, chips, or discoloration. My UPS logo, my US D.O.T permit decal is secure. My IFTA sticker is current. It is good till December 31st, 2016. It is current, it is affixed. I also have my left directional. It is securely mounted. As you can see, is illuminated and functioning properly. It is clean, clear, not cracked, chipped, or broken. My battery box is securely mounted, no missing nuts or bolts. It is securely mounted to the frame. As you can see, there aren't any leaks in the battery box. Also checking my mud flap. My mud flap is securely mounted, no missing nuts or bolts. Moving here to my fuel tank. My fuel tank is securely mounted to the frame via the bands. The bands are securely mounted to the frame, no missing nuts or bolts. This is a vented fuel tank. It is vented in the rear. The cap itself is leaded, threaded, and sealed, and it is full of diesel. The tank itself is not damaged, and as you can see, again, there aren't any leaks. I'm going to check all sections of my deck plates. I have 2 sections back here. They are securely mounted. As I'm in this area here, I'm looking and listening for any visible or audible leaks, both liquid and fluid, so I see or hear none underneath the cab of the tractor. I'm going to start back up top here, make sure I have no damage in the fairing. I'm going to check my back window of my tractor to make sure it is clean and clear. It's not cracked, chipped, or broken. I can see that I have D.O.T reflective device on the outsides or around the outsides of my window there for 264719. I'm also going to move down to make sure that my hookup light is securely mounted. It's not on because the key has to be in the on position for that to be working. But it is not cracked, chipped, or broken, and it is clean and clear. My coupling's going to verify that my air lines are securely coupled to my tractor. I do not, again, I do not see or hear any visible audible leaks. Going to make sure my light cord is securely mounted to my tractor. My air lines have no cuts, bulges, abrasions, no worn or shiny spots which indicate leaks. I can also see that my light cord is securely mounted, running all the way back to my trailer here. Has no cracks or frays, no exposed wires. Prior to coupling, I did verify that my glad hands were securely mounted. The grommets inside the glad hands were not damaged and in good repair. Checking the header of my trailer for 748667. I have no bulges, no holes in the header of my trailer. As you see, the height is 13.6. That's very important to remember. For 748667, my serial ID plate is securely mounted. I also have my FHWI certification for the trailer. The last time it was inspected was July 2016. Again, it's good for 1 year from that punch date to the last day of July 2017. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to drop down right here at this level, and I'm going to have my first look at my coupling. And the first thing I check here is I'm going to check my apron. I'm verifying that my apron is not bent, broken, or cracked. There is no space between the apron and my fifth wheel. Okay, prior to coupling, I did verify that my fifth wheel skid plate had sufficient lubrication and the kingpin itself was not bent and not damaged. I can see that my fifth wheel skid plate is securely mounted to my fifth wheel platform. No illegal welds, no missing or broken nuts or bolts. The fifth wheel platform is securely mounted to my frame. Again, no missing nuts or bolts, securely mounted. Also going to verify that my handle, my fifth wheel release handle, is in the locked position. My spring is present, and I am not missing my pin at my lever there to make sure that is securely mounted. It is in the locked position there, so it is completely wrapped around the kingpin. I'm going to drop all the way down. I'm going to start on the opposite side. So I'm going far away, and they're going to work my way back to me. From this angle, I can see my opposite side inner dual there on the tractor. I can see there are no cuts, bulges, abrasions, no exposed cord or fabric on the inner tire wall. I can also see my brake linings up under there. My brake linings have a minimum of a 1/4 inch. There's actually about a 1/2 inch over there, and I see no cracks or contaminants on those brake linings. I can also see my inside wheel. There's also no cracks or contaminants over there. And as I move my way back, I can see my brake chambers. Both my 2 secure brake chambers are securely mounted, not dented, not broken, nothing leaking out of them. I can see my air lines going into my 2 secure brake chambers. Again, securely mounted, no visible audible leaks, no cuts, bulges, abrasions, no worn or shiny spots indicating leaks. I can see my drive line is straight and in line, is not bent or broken, has no debris wrapped around it, no missing nuts or bolts. On this side, I can see my frame. My frame is straight and in line, has no illegal welds, no cracks in the frame itself, no missing nuts or bolts. I'm going to slide up under here just a little bit to show you my spring hangers. These are my spring hangers. They are securely mounted to the tractor frame. No missing nuts or bolts. I also have no worn, broken, cracked, or missing springs, spring hangers, U-bolts, bolts, or nuts. As I move down here, I can also see that my mud flap is securely mounted. No missing nuts or bolts. So I slide up in here. I'm going to check my tire. This is my driver's side dual tires. I can see that I have a minimum of 2 32nd tread depth on the driver's side duals. In between here, I can verify that I have no stones or debris blocked or braced. They are equally spaced. There are no cuts, bulges, abrasions, no exposed cord or fabric on the inner sides of my tire or the outer sides of my tire here. I have no cracks or welds on the rim, no loose, missing, or cracked lug nuts, which would be indicated by running rust. This is a closed hub. It is sealed and it is not leaking. And all of its nuts or bolts are present, not damaged or missing. Gonna go ahead and check inflation on these tires here. Gonna verify I have proper inflation. They are sufficient to actually get a reading on my tires. Make sure I had proper inflation. I would actually need a tire gauge to get an actual reading. Once I get down with those tires, I'm gonna step back out here. I'm gonna verify up top that my clearance light is illuminated, and it is. It is securely mounted. It is clean and clear. It's not cracked, chipped, or broken. It is illuminated, has the proper color, amber, which because it is to the front of the vehicle. The skin of my trailer. I'm looking down the skin of my trailer. I'm checking for any bulges, any holes, any rips. There are no rips, tears, bulges, or holes in the skin of my trailer. For 748667, my D.O.T reflective devices, or D.O.T reflective tape, run all the way down the side of my trailer. They are securely mounted. My spray suppressant is securely mounted to my trailer. Still sliding, no new damage. As I stop here, I'm going to go ahead and get up under here, and then we're going to get to the coupling. Stop for a second. All right, this is the second look at my coupling. Again, the first thing I'm going to look at is my apron. It's not bent, broken, or cracked in any way. Prior to coupling, I can see also that, well, not prior, but I can see also there's no space between the apron and my fifth wheel plate. Prior to coupling, I did verify that the fifth wheel skid plate had proper lubrication. The kingpin itself was straight and not damaged. I can also see right here that the locking jaws are completely wrapped around the kingpin and they're not set too high or too low. From this angle, I can see that my fifth wheel skid plate is securely mounted to my fifth wheel platform on both the left and right side. There's no illegal welds or cracks, no missing nuts or bolts, and it is securely mounted to my frame. My frame is straight and true, is not bent or broken, has no illegal welds, no cracks in the frame. Moving back a little bit, we'll talk about my left mud flap and my right mud flap over here. They are securely mounted to the frame, no missing nuts or bolts. Gonna go ahead and drop down here. We're gonna talk about both my left and right spring hangers and springs. So there's my spring hangers. Okay, they are securely mounted to the tractor frame, no missing nuts or bolts. The springs themselves, I have no worn, broken, cracked, or missing spring hangers or U-bolts, no sheared or missing bolts, U-bolts, or nuts. As I drop down a little lower, I'm going to verify that my brake chambers from this angle are securely mounted. I can see that they are securely mounted. They're not dented, cracked, or leaking. I can also see that my slack adjusters and push rods are securely mounting, no missing nuts or bolts. At UPS, we do have manual slack adjusters. To actually check the adjustment on the slack adjuster, we'd have to chalk block the wheels, release the brakes, make sure the transmission was in neutral, and then verify that these slack adjusters had no more than 1 inch of play. Gonna move back a little bit, talk about both my left and right tires. See that I have no cuts, bulges, abrasions, no exposed quarter fabric on both the right and left tire. Gonna check both my brake linings. You can see both my brake linings. I must have a minimum of 1/4 inch on the brake linings. I have no cracked brake linings. Also have no debris or contaminants on the brake linings. Checking the wheel and the rim here to verify there are no cracks or illegal welds on both the left and the right tire there. As I move back a little bit, I'm going to talk about my four-ways and my parking lights or my running lights. Make sure those are securely mounted. They're illuminated, they're flashing, they are the proper color, they're clean, clear, not cracked, chipped, or broken, and they are red. My reverse lights are securely mounted. They are clean and clear, but actually to have those verify if they were working, I'd have to place the vehicle in reverse. They're not. My tow hooks are securely mounted. No missing nuts or bolts. My electrical plug is securely mounted. No missing nuts or bolts. It has all 7 pins, secure, not bent or broken, and there's no debris in the electrical plug itself. My pintle latch or pintle hook is securely mounted. No missing nuts or bolts. Going to verify that my pintle hook has all the necessary parts, such as the cotter pin, and that my pintle hook does open and close properly. And it does. Replacing my cotter pin. All right. I'm going to go ahead and turn around here. I'm going to talk about the support frame here on the landing gear. I can see that my landing gear is in the full upright raised position. The frame supporting the landing gear is securely mounted, no missing nuts or bolts. Again, at UPS, I didn't say this earlier, but I want to verify that at UPS we manufacture our fifth wheels so that we can have proper clearance to clear our landing gear when we make these turns. But our landing gear is in the upright position. The frame itself, support frame, securely mounted, no missing nuts or bolts. I can also verify that the handle for the landing gear is secure, not missing any nuts or bolts, and it's not going to fall off the vehicle. Secure. Yep. Okay, moving up underneath the trailer here, I'm going to verify that I have no bent, broken, or missing ribs in the undercarriage of the trailer. As you can see, I have no bent, broken, or missing ribs. Everything is securely mounted. At the rear of the trailer, I'm going to slide up under here. I'm going to do a 1-in-1 to remove any moisture that may be in my air tank. That gets out any moisture. I can see that my air tank here is securely mounted to the trailer frame. Is not damaged, and I can see that I can see and hear that there are no visible audible leaks. The air lines going into my air tank are securely mounted. They run to my 2 secure brake chambers. My 2 secure brake chambers are securely mounted, not dented or cracked or leaking. The air lines themselves are securely mounted, no cuts, bulges, abrasions, no worn or shiny spots which would indicate leaks. I can also see that my spring hangers are securely mounted to the frames. The springs themselves are securely mounted. I have no worn, broken, cracked, or missing springs, spring hangers, U-bolts or bolts, no sheared or missing bolts, U-bolts, or nuts. The torque rod is securely mounted. It is properly adjusted, no missing nuts or bolts, and securely mounted. Going to check both the left and the right tires here again. Going to check the inner walls on the left tire and the right tire to verify they have no cuts, bulges, abrasions, no exposed cord or fabric. I can see that both my left and my right brake linings, we must have a minimum of a 1/4 inch. We have about an inch, almost an inch on both the left and the right side. They're not cracked, they're not broken. I can also see there are no contaminants on the brake linings or in the brake drum. The wheel and rim of the wheel is clean and clear of any welds or cracks in the rim itself. And on the driver's side duals on the trailer, going to verify I have a minimum of 2 32nd tread depth with no abnormal tread wear, no uneven spots or bald spots. I'm going to verify that I have no stones or debris blocked or braced between my tires. They are equally spaced. If there was a spacer in here, I'd make sure that that was secure and it was equally spaced as well. Going to verify I have no cuts, bulges, abrasions, no exposed cord or fabric on the inner sides of my tire and the outer sides of my tire. I have no cracks or welds on the rim, no loose, missing, or cracked lug nuts, which would be indicated by running rust. I have sufficient wheel bearing lubrication, as you can see in the sight window here. It is between the add and full, and it is not leaking. One thing I didn't check on the tires on the tractor was the metal valve stems, metal valve caps. I want to make sure we get those. Metal valve stem, metal valve cap on the outer tire, metal valve stem, metal valve cap, securely mounted on the inner tire. Again, did I do an inflation check? Making sure that we have proper inflation. Again, to get an actual reading on the inflation, we'd have to use a tire pressure gauge. Checking my skin again, verify I have no cuts, bulges, or rips or tears in the skin. D.O.T reflective device is securely mounted. My spray suppressant is securely mounted. This is my marker light. It is securely mounted. It is illuminated. It is clean, clear, not cracked, chipped, or broken, and it is of the proper color, which is red. The light above here is the ABS fault light. It is not illuminated, but it is securely mounted. It is not illuminated because currently we have no faults in the ABS system. My mud flap on my tire is securely mounted as well. Walking back to the rear of my trailer, going to verify I have 3 ID lights, centered, level, illuminated. They are clean, clear, not cracked, chipped, or broken. They're illuminated. They are the proper color, which is red. I can also see that my trailer door has D.O.T reflective devices at the top and the bottoms of my trailer. I can see that both my four-ways, my tail lights, my brake lights, and my license plate ID light are all illuminated. All of my lights are secure. You can see that they are the proper color back here, which is red, and they are clean, clear, not cracked, chipped, or broken. The door itself, we're checking to make sure there's no missing boards in the door, no bulges, no holes in the door itself. I'm gonna unlock the door here, make sure the latch is functioning properly, make sure it opens and closes, and it does. While we're here, we're also gonna verify in the trailer itself, checking the floor to make sure we have no holes, No missing boards. We're going to check the walls to make sure there are no rips or holes or bulges in the walls there. The header, we're again looking for holes, no damage to the header, and the ceiling. No visible daylight coming through the ceiling, indicating no holes, no leaks that are going to be in the ceiling. Going to go ahead and close my trailer door. Oh, one last thing, if I did have a load, I would verify that it was properly secure. If I had hazmats, I'd make sure that those were segregated and it would be properly secured by the load straps. Closing my door here, making sure my latch is working, and it is. Attaching my safety chain. Gonna keep moving down here, gonna make sure that my dock bumpers are securely mounted. They are. No missing nuts or bolts. Moving down to make sure my license plate is securely mounted. It is current. We'll talk about that when we get up to the king box and check the paperwork. Also going to drop down, make sure both my D.O.T bumpers, left and right D.O.T bumpers, are securely mounted, and they are. I have D.O.T reflect devices on those. Going to go ahead and drop down and check my glad hands and grommets. There's my grommets. I didn't get to show you those on the front of my trailer. You want to make sure that those are in good condition. The glad hands themselves are not cracked or broken, and they are in good repair. Going to check my air to make sure I have air coming out of the service side. Turning my head, make sure I had air coming out of the service side. Going to connect this back together. Checking my airline itself. I have no cuts, bulges, abrasions, no worn or shiny spots, which would indicate leaks. Going to verify that my pintle latch is securely mounted. No missing nuts or bolts, has all of its components. Removing the pin here to make sure that it does open and close properly. And it does open and close properly. My safety chain loops are securely mounted. Going to check my light plug to make sure that my light plug is securely mounted. No obstructions in the light plug. And I do have my 7 pins present, not bent or broken. One last thing I'm going to do is make sure that my pintle snubber works. I'm going to open my emergency side valve, activate my snubber, release my snubber, close my emergency side valve. That would be to secure my dolly if I had a set of doubles. Moving back around out here, going to check that my mud flap on the passenger side is securely mounted. All right, one last thing here from this angle at the rear of the trailer. We're going to go ahead and check our slack adjusters. I want you to get up there and just make sure that you can see your slack adjusters and your push rods. They are securely mounted on both the left and the right side. They are not dented, broken, or leaking. You can see that your slack adjusters and push rods are securely mounted with no missing nuts or bolts. Again, at UPS, we have manual slack adjusters. In order to check the play on the slack adjusters, we would have to chalk block the wheels, release the brakes, make sure the vehicle is in neutral, and then verify that our slack adjusters had no more than 1 inch of play on both the left and right side. All right, so after I came around this side, I did want to just make sure that I talked to you guys about making sure that everything that was on that side is pretty much the same on this side. As we get up to the front of the trailer, this is where we have our 6 different elements or items that are on this side or the right side of the tractor trailer. We'll start with our clearance slide up there. We'll make sure, of course, that that's clean and clear, securely mounted, not cracked, chipped, or broken, illuminated, proper color, which is amber. Header, we've already talked about. The first thing I want to talk about that's different is the king box. The king box is here on the front of the header of the trailer. It is securely mounted. No missing nuts or bolts. It basically has your registration for this trailer, and it tells you right here that the registration is permanent, non-expiring for 748667. So it is secure, it is current, it has that paperwork that goes with this trailer for the registration. The second thing that's different on this side is the auto luber or automatic greaser. You want to make sure that it is securely mounted to the tractor frame. No missing nuts or bolts. It is not leaking. Leaking would be a puddle under the ground. It's not cracked. You actually can't see in it, but it's securely mounted, not damaged or leaking. Okay? The third thing that you want to talk about is the smokestack. I would discourage you from touching it because it does get hot, but I want to make sure that you make sure that it is securely mounted. No missing nuts or bolts. No cracks. Now the cracks themselves would be indicated by black soot. You'd have little streaks of black soot that would indicate that there's a crack there, because that's what happens when they start leaking or when they get cracks in them. So the smokestack or exhaust is securely mounted. No missing nuts or bolts. Everything is securely mounted to the tractor. The fourth thing that we have on this side is we're going to talk about our air tanks. Our air tanks, again, securely mounted to the tractor frame, no missing nuts or bolts. Again, with any air tank, we're going to make sure that we do a 1-in-1 to remove any moisture that may be in the air tank, because moisture can obviously freeze and that can cause your brakes to malfunction. The fifth thing, sorry, I have number 5. The fifth thing that we have is we want to talk about our 3 bidirectional reflective triangles. You want to make sure that you state that they are here. We have 1, 2, 3. They are securely mounted. They are on the tractor floor and they are present. The sixth thing is our fender mirror. Our fender mirror is secure. The bracket itself is securely mounted to the tractor. The mirror is securely mounted to the bracket. No missing nuts or bolts. The mirror itself is free of any cracks, chips, and is not discolored in any way. Okay, releasing my right side hood latch for 264719. Gonna raise my hood using my safe work methods. So I bent my knees, lifted with my legs, making sure that my hood latch is secure. This prevents the hood from blowing back over me while I'm working in the engine compartment. First thing I start with is a Z scan of the engine. Okay, and basically what I'm doing during that Z scan is I'm looking and I'm listening for any visible or audible leaks in the engine compartment or the undercarriage. And I see or hear none. Going to start up top, going to make sure that my air intake is free of any debris. There are no obstructions in there. It is securely mounted. My air governor, I want to make sure that my air governor is securely mounted to the firewall, no missing nuts or bolts. The air lines that are going into my air governor are securely mounted. No missing nuts or bolts. Also, the air lines are free of any cuts, bulges, abrasions, no worn or shiny spots, which would indicate leaks. My window washer reservoir or fluid reservoir is securely mounted. It's not damaged or leaking, no missing nuts or bolts, and it is full. I also have my power steering reservoir. My power steering reservoir is right here. It is securely mounted. I want to make sure that I have sufficient power steering fluid. It is between the add and full, and the power steering reservoir itself is not leaking. Now we have hoses that run from my power steering reservoir. They are securely mounted. They are not damaged or leaking, and they run all the way up to my power steering pump. Okay, my power steering pump is securely mounted to my engine block. The power steering pump is a gear-driven pump, okay, and it is not damaged, no missing nuts or bolts. As I move back through here, I'm going to talk about my oil level. I'll verify that my oil level is between the add and full on the dipstick. Okay, and of course it is between the add and full. If it were not between the add and full, basically what you would do is you would add 4 quarts at a time to the filler tube, which is right here, until it reaches the proper level. What we have right here is we have our air compressor. Okay, this is securely mounted to the engine block as well, no missing nuts or bolts. The air compressor is a gear-driven compressor. The air lines going into my air compressor are securely mounted, and I can see that they have no cuts, bulges, abrasions, no worn or shiny spots, which would indicate leaking. One thing I missed right here, I didn't really miss it, but I want to talk about is my air conditioner compressor. You want to make sure that it is securely mounted. It is actually a belt-driven compressor. You want to check to make sure that the belt itself has no cracks or frays, and is a minimum or no more than 3/4 inches of play in the belt itself. Okay. Going to drop down, going to check my frame, verifying that my frame is straight and true, has no cracks or welds. Going to verify that my spring hanger is securely mounted to my frame, no missing nuts or bolts. Coincides with that as I have my springs. I'm make sure I have no worn, broken springs, spring hangers, U-bolts, no sheared or missing bolts, U-bolts or nuts. As I look back to the back there, we have the shackle. The shackle is securely mounted, it's not damaged, no missing nuts or bolts. I have my shock. My shock is securely mounted. No missing nuts or bolts, is not damaged or leaking. I have my air lines. Again, my air lines are running to my secure brake chamber. My air lines are free of any cuts, bulges, abrasions, no worn or shiny spots, which would indicate leaking. The brake chamber itself is securely mounted, is not dented, damaged, or leaking. Again, UPS has manual slack adjusters. If we wanted to check the play on the slack adjusters, we'd chalk block the wheels, release the brakes, and make sure that the slack adjusters and the push rod, which are securely mounted, no missing nuts or bolts, would have no more than 1 inch of play. And go. Okay. After the slack adjuster, we're going to move to the inside of the tire here. This is a steer tire. We're going to make sure we have no cuts, bulges, abrasions, no exposed quarter fabric on the inner tire. Also going to check that I have a minimum of a 1/4 inch brake lining, no cracks or contaminants, no broken or cracked brake linings there, no cracks or welds on the rim itself. Okay. Again, this is a steer tire, so it's a minimum of 4/32 tread depth. No uneven tread wear, no bald spots. Going to do a push-pull on the front steer tire, verifying there is no abnormal movement, which would indicate loose spindles or bearings. Checking the outside rim here. Gonna verify that I have no cracks or welds on the rim, no loose, missing, or cracked lug nuts, which again would be indicated by running rust. Get a sight visual on my wheel bearing lubricant to make sure it is between the add and full, and it is. If I can't see in that window, I can take off my cap to verify that I have sufficient wheel bearing lubrication, which I do. I have one metal valve stem, metal valve cap. I can also feel back here that my mud flap is securely mounted. No missing nuts or bolts. The inflation on this tire is visual because it is a weight bearing tire. Again, to check inflation for most of our tires, if we want actual readings, we have to have a tire pressure gauge. Okay, now I've walked around to the driver's side of the vehicle. We're going to stay in the engine compartment. On this side, we're going to start the same way with a nice big Z scan of the engine compartment and the undercarriage. Again, I'm looking and listening for any visible audible leaks in the engine compartment or the undercarriage, and I see none. Going to start up top. Going to verify that my coolant reservoir is securely mounted, no missing nuts or bolts, not leaking, and I can see some fluid in there. The hoses coming out of my coolant reservoir are securely mounted, not damaged or leaking. Those run all the way back to my water pump, which is right back here. Now the water pump is actually a belt-driven pump, okay? Going to check the belt to make sure that the belt itself has no cracks or frays, and again, no more than 3/4 inches of play in that belt. Going to check my alternator, make sure it is securely mounted, it's not damaged or leaking, no missing nuts or bolts, securely mounted to the engine block. As I move back across here, going to check all of my filters to make sure they are secure, they are not damaged and leaking. These are my oil filters, making sure they are not damaged or leaking. Going to verify that my fuel filter, which is almost due to be changed, is not damaged or leaking. It's close to being full, so we're going to have to probably take that to the shop here in a couple days, but verified secure. Checking my hoses coming out of my fuel filter. They are securely mounted. They are not damaged. It is securely mounted to the tractor itself. Dropping down to check my steering shaft, my steering gearbox, my steering pitman arm, my drag link. They are all securely mounted. So again, that's my steering shaft, my steering gearbox, my pitman arm, and my drag link. Securely mounted, no missing nuts or bolts. The hoses coming from the power steering pump to the gearbox are securely mounted, not damaged or leaking, no missing nuts or bolts. Securely mounted to my frame, no missing nuts or bolts. You can see that my drag link runs all the way to my steering knuckle, which is securely mounted to the driver's side steering arm, which drops down to my tie rod. My tie rod runs all the way across. It is securely mounted and is not damaged or broken or bent. See my frame, make sure my frame is straight and true, is not bent, has no illegal welds or cracks. My spring hanger on this side securely mounted, no missing nuts or bolts. I have no worn or broken springs, spring hairs, U-bolts, no shear or missing bolts, U-bolts or nuts. Moving back to the back, there's a better look at my shackle. This shackle looks a lot better than the other side. Is not damaged, no missing nuts or bolts. Moving back up here to my shock, making sure that my shock is securely mounted, no missing nuts or bolts, is not damaged or leaking. Moving into the wheel here, verify that my brake line, my air line, securely mounted to my brake chamber, which is securely mounted. Has no cuts, bulges, abrasions, no worn or shiny spots, which would indicate leaks. Brake chamber is not dented or damaged, not leaking. Slack adjusters and push rods, securely mounted, no missing nuts or bolts. Again, at UPS, we have manual slack adjusters if we need to check the